Hello everybody, I'm Gary with Music Town, and welcome to another episode of Music Town Stories, where today we're going to discuss the anatomy of a turntable. For those of you just getting into vinyl, turntables can be a little intimidating, and today I'm going to try and demystify this by explaining all the different parts of a turntable. Starting off with our knobs and buttons, we have obviously an on-off switch, which is pretty self-explanatory. You have your start and stop, and you also have a 33 RPM, which is revolutions per minute, and 45 RPM switch, depending on the speed of your record. Most long play records are 33 and a third, although sometimes they're 45. That information is usually found on the label. And speaking of 45s, if you've ever wondered what this is, back in the day when they made these, for some reason I think that has to do with jukeboxes, the holes are a lot bigger, and so you would need an adapter to play them, and that's what that's for. You have a platter, which does the spinning, and you have a slip cover. These are made of usually felt, cork, or rubber to protect the record from the platter. And then we move on to, well, there's one more thing here. This is a pitch control, which not too many turntables have. This is more of a DJ thing if you want to speed up or slow down your record plus or minus 8%. That's what you would use that for. You would only use that if you're planning on doing some beat mixing, so I really wouldn't worry about that. Next, we have the tone arm. And this is where we start getting a little serious. On the business end of the tone arm, you have the very end, the smallest piece, and also the most important piece. This is your stylus or needle. And it's just a plastic casing with a very small stick on it. And on the end of the stick is a diamond, and that's what reads the information on the record. This is the one most important piece of this whole setup to determine how good your sound is going to be coming out of your speakers. Now, if I can get this on there, I'm going to remove the head shell. There we go. The stylus hooks up to a cartridge, and what I'd like to show you right now are some different ones. This is my old DJ stylus. This is a Stanton, and this is my newer DJ stylus. This is an Ortofon Concord. This one's kind of interesting because the head shell is the cartridge, which is pretty interesting. But I wanted to show you these to show you that styluses and cartridges are not uniform. It's not a one-size-all situation. You have to have the right stylus for your cartridge. If you want to start off with an inexpensive cartridge and work your way up to something a little more expensive or nicer, what you can do is find yourself a reputable brand, Ortofon, Audio-Technica, do some research. There's plenty of great brands out there. They usually have a whole series of cartridges, styluses that will fit on the same cartridge. And so you can start off with something around $50 range and work your way up to hundreds and even thousands of dollars worth of stylus. Again, the quality of your stylus will have a huge effect on the quality of your sound, so that's something to keep in mind. Now, all that fits onto a head shell. Some of them are removable, some of them aren't. This looks rather intimidating if you wanted to put it on yourself, but it really is quite simple. You have 4 color-coded posts on the back of the head shell, on the back of the cartridge, and you have these wires that are on sleeves that slide on and off pretty easily. And then you have 4 color-coded posts on the back of the head shell. You match up the colors, get a little eyeglass screwdriver, and go ahead and lock that into the head shell, and you're good to go. It's really quite simple. On the other end of your tone arm, you have a counterweight. In a previous episode of this series, I showed you how to balance your tone arm, which is very important. We're going to go ahead and put that in the comments for you if you want to revisit that, or if you haven't seen it before. The amount of weight on your stylus is very important, because if you have too much weight, it will damage your record and damage your stylus. If you don't have enough weight, you're susceptible to skipping. So you have to have it right in the right spot. Most people put it between 1 and 3 grams. I like it a little heavier. I put it on 2.5. And again, check out that video if you want to see how to do that. Or come by the store anytime. I'm there on Wednesdays or Sundays. I'd be glad to show you, give you a tutorial on how to balance your tone arm anytime you're ready to come down and do that. The other aspect on this is anti-skating, which is very important. And what this is as the needle is going through the record and it's being played through, there's a little bit of centrifugal force which tends to pull the needle to one side of the groove, which will affect your sound. So what anti-skating does through magic, apparently, I have no idea how it works, it levels it off a little bit and seats it right down in the middle of the groove. And all you need to do, if you want to get another tight up here, as I said before, I keep mine at 2.5 grams, and you just set your anti-skating to 2.5, and then you're all set. The last aspect is something that I can't show you. It's inside, but it's very important that you understand about preamp. The signal that comes from a microscopic diamond being dragged through a groove of a record is very weak, and it needs to be boosted somewhere before it goes to the amplifier. And so you need a preamp when you're working with a turntable. Little history lesson: back in the glory days of vinyl in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, amplifiers or receivers had a dedicated phono line. On the back there was inputs that said phono, and on the front there was a switch that said phono. And if you had a dedicated phono line on your amplifier, that means there's a preamp built into it. In the 90s, for some reason, everybody just threw out their turntables, and the manufacturers decided to stop putting preamps into their amplifiers. And when turntables started coming back about 20 years ago, turntable manufacturers started putting the preamps inside the turntables. So if you have a preamp inside your turntable, you can hook up to any line on your receiver or amplifier. The last scenario would be, what if you don't have a preamp in your turntable or your receiver? Then you would get an external preamp, plug your turntable into that, and then into your amplifier. And that pretty much covers everything on it. If you have any more questions, please come by Music Town. We'd be glad to answer them for you anytime.